Hey everyone, my name's Madison. Thanks for checking out my channel. Today I'm going to do a book review for the book House of Gucci by Sarah Gay Forden. I listened to this book on audiobook and I'm going to go ahead and do a short summary, talk about what I liked, what I didn't like, and who I would recommend it for. So this is the story of the House of Gucci from its founding in 1921 by Guccio Gucci all the way to the late 90s when it's bought out by Investcorp and beyond that as well. The story tracks the Gucci company, but it also includes Maurizio Gucci's murder, as well as the stories of leading family members and other important fashion leaders who were involved with the Gucci company. And then an afterword added by the author in 2020 or 2021 covers things that had the big moments in the Gucci company from the time the book was originally written in 2000 to 2020 and the pandemic. So that was kind of an interesting addendum. Okay, so now for what I liked. I loved the history in this book. The Gucci company has been around for over 100 years now, and that history is fascinating. The story of its founding especially so, for me personally. I also enjoyed the stories of some of the larger-than-life characters from the Gucci company, including Aldo Gucci, the story of how he met the watchmaker who really helped make a ton of money for Gucci. It's just a hilarious story and really showcases some of the personalities of the people involved in making the Gucci company great. Also, I don't know a whole lot about fashion, so I learned a lot from this book, especially the ins and outs of what made the Gucci company so popular, starting with luggage and shoes to watches, and then, obviously purses. We all know Gucci handbags. But then into the clothing scene, I didn't understand that was a gradual progression, and it took very interesting turns along the way as the Gucci company stepped into different territory, and I really enjoyed learning about that. Also, the Gucci family members are just, as I said a moment ago, they are larger than life. They are eccentric, quirky characters, and it's fun to read about them or listen to stories about them because I was listening to it on audiobook. One of the things that I found so interesting about it is that from the beginning of the Gucci company all the way up until the 90s, many of the family members are very trusting of psychics and seances and things like that, to the point where they're having people come in to get evil spirits out of their house and asking for spells and things like that. And these are modern European people, and that was just a very interesting side to them that I totally wasn't expecting, and it made for the ins and outs of the family trials, gave it a different perspective. Okay, now for some things that I didn't like as much. I had a significantly harder time feeling invested in the more business aspects of the book. Essentially, after it is out of the hands of the family, I was less interested. Really, even as soon as Maurizio comes on the scene and he's trying to gain power in the company, and the way that he does that is by selling huge portions of the company to investment groups. While those, I'm sure, are interesting to the right person, I'm not that person, okay? I cared a little bit more about the family members and the fashion aspect of the company more than the investment aspect of the story. I think perhaps another reason for that is because I was listening to it on audiobook. It was difficult for me to stay engaged when I can't put faces to some of the people that they're talking about. And, I'm listening in the car, so I can't just go and Google, oh, who is this guy? Who is this woman, But perhaps if I were reading it while I would still not have any idea who those people are, I could really quickly just Google it so I could get, something to stick in my mind as I'm learning about these people who are important to the Gucci company but aren't members of the Gucci family because it has already been sold to various investment groups. Also, I had a really difficult time with the narrative flow of the story, especially after Maurizio comes on the scene. From the founding with Gucci all the way up until Aldo's troubles with his sons, the story came in a pretty linear fashion, but once Maurizio comes on board, things kind of start to split up when it comes to the narrative itself. And then once Maurizio sells the company, the author wants to tell you Maurizio's story along with the story of the company, and she has to attempt to interweave those timelines. And in my opinion, she doesn't do a very good job of weaving those timelines together smoothly. There are moments where she's going back in time to tell you, oh, and by the way, this is what Maurizio has been doing. Oh, and by the way, he's been murdered. Right? So the flow wasn't great, and I think it's because she's trying to do a little bit too much. I think that everything that she wrote about was really important, and you couldn't tell the story of Gucci without those two timelines, but perhaps it could be more artfully done. Okay, so now for my final rating and recommendation. I did give House of Gucci 3 stars. It was good, it was okay. There's a lot I liked about it. Especially in the beginning, I was very engaged and entertained by what I was reading, but the second half of the book had some issues in my opinion. I would recommend this book to anybody who enjoys fashion history. If you really like the Gucci company, this story is probably going to be enjoyable for you. The second half of the book gets very business-oriented, but the arrival of Tom Ford onto the scene certainly makes things worth the read. So let me know if you have read this, if you intend to read it, have you watched the movie with Lady Gaga? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye!